in the urban communities, the citizens are locked up. In the rural communities, the citizens are locking those urban citizens up. And so you create a situation where you have jobs for one community, incarceration, or I call it imprisonment, for another community. I was sitting there during your presentation and I was impressed with your program. Can you share with us a little bit about that program?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's called Liberation Literacy, and it's a program that started at a minimum security prison in Portland, Oregon, a year ago. And really it was about starting a weekly racial justice reading group with inside students and then bringing in community members with the intent of really rethinking the way that we think about community and sort of incarcerated people as outside of a community and then having to re-enter, but rather remaking our idea about community and doing that through reading and creating a radical study group space.
I looked at that list of books, George Jackson, Malcolm X, all kinds of stuff there. Who selected those books for the read material? Because it certainly seemed like it's like the education for the radical masses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, part of it was my own sort of background as someone who teaches the Black radical tradition, Black nationalism, 20th century social movements. Mm-hmm. So that had some influence, but we would frequently ask students what they wanted to read and come together. So when we did a book drive, for example, we asked students what they were interested in and just submitted those to people to donate. And we've been really fortunate not to have a lot of censorship from DOC.
Mm-hmm. And I noticed the growth of the program. How old is the program, and how did it grow from what numbers to what numbers?
Yeah, so we started really small. There were, on the first class, it was October of 2016, and there were about 5 inside students and 5 outside students. And now there's about 30. We always try to keep the balance between the two, so it's not, it doesn't feel like there's too many people outside that community coming in. But it's grown even more because now we have an outside racial justice reading group that's led by people who have graduated from the program. So it's led by formerly incarcerated people. And it's really just built up a family in Portland. So I would say that wider web is now up to 50 people or so.
So what in the final analysis do you expect to come out of this program?
I mean, one of the things that I really was hoping to do is I see myself as really just an interlocutor or someone who can help redistribute resources and get things inside that otherwise can't be in there. So one thing that I've been really pleased with is the extent to which people have taken ownership over the program and developed it into things that matter to them. So I never wanted to say, this is what we should be worried about doing. So one example of that is they're now partnering with another community group called Black Parent Initiative. And that program, BPI, is getting books to guys inside to inscribe to their children and families. And then they're going to do a Kids Day where children with incarcerated parents can come and get books from family members. So just community programs like that, they come out of what's really just a weekly reading group is what I'm hoping it can expand to.
Okay, well, I think it's a good example. Do you intend to kind of expand it to, because I know you're no longer in Seattle and you kind of relocated. Are you going to duplicate that program?
Yeah, so we've had interest. There's a Yale Divinity School student who wanted to start a chapter in New Haven. As I mentioned, there's the high school student chapter. We've had some talks about starting chapters in Cambridge as well. To me, it's really, our program grew so much out of local conditions, and it was never a prescribed thing. It was about conversations with us as a community and what we wanted to happen. So what I would hope is with future chapters that those are also addressing local conditions and coming out of those conversations.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Okay.
I appreciate it, Eddie.